Good afternoon to all. This is Bismillah again, following up with the last track webinar we had conducted regarding masters. So today we will be seeing the basic transactions that we can do with track accounting, and this will majorly be covering entries related to the POS. So whatever entries you're making in POS, how the effects are shown in the track side, how we have to do the transactions or the adjusting entries in our GoFrugal Trac. So today majorly we will be covering menus under this transaction menu, that is payment, receipt, journal, contra, purchase, sales, Billwise transactions, and as I showed you last time, some template voucher entries. So I hope everyone present today have reviewed my last webinar. So last webinar we had started with making some master related menus and master related transactions, like how you will create a ledger master, how you will do an opening balance entry, so on and so forth. So today let us start by just an overview of the transactions, and I'll be majorly using the GoFrugal RPOS 7 application, but across GoFrugal RPOS 7 or RPOS 6.5 DE distributors, the accounting treatment and the entries are very much similar. So this is a common topic for all the customers available both in India and outside India. Since I have installed this RPOS 7 as an Indian version, so I will be having the ledgers related to GST. For other state out of India customers, it will be again the normal ledgers which they were using before this. So there is no major change, just the name of the tax ledgers and their tax percentages will change. That is the only difference. Again, I could see some HQ customers are there. So for HQ customers, I would like to reiterate, there is no need for any master creation at the outlet level. So we'll start with the our webinar today. So as I had said the last time as well, the purpose of this webinars is like when you have a new staff for the accounts, or when you have a new staff for your maintaining POS and accounts both, there is a requirement of training, which usually when you ask for additional training we provide. Apart from that, we are trying to make some videos which will be which you can use, which the staffs or you yourself can learn by themselves. So we are considering an environment for, say example, this is a new business and you are starting a new business with a GoFrugal RPOS 7. So what are the things that you will need? First, I'll have some of my customers, I'll have some of my suppliers, then there will be my bank account, and then there will be some cash which I have in my hand. So these are the four basic things which we require. So in our POS, you can just go to customer master, and create a customer. So I'll create a customer, press F6 to save. Then I will require a distributor, that is in your live environment it will be like number of customers are there and number of suppliers are there. So either you have the provision to create them one by one, or there is always an option with MIT where you can do it in bulk. So here I have created one customer and one supplier. As soon as I create any entries or any master in POS, it will be available in my track as well, which I can view from this ledger master. Please note, entries or masters created from POS can only be viewed in track and they cannot be edited in track. As you can see, this has come to us group called customers. And this has come as a supplier group. Now, the next thing I need is, definitely when I'm starting, you will have a business and you are moving up to our GoFrugal solutions. So in the business, you will have customers who are having some outstanding by default and some suppliers to whom you will have to, there is some outstanding payment. So while starting the software, there will be like some outstandings already present, which has to be entered in the system. Again, as I was saying, this can be done manually in the software as well as through MIT as well. Let me show you the manual way here now. We can just click over here and press on opening balance entry. Now, whenever we start with accounting, we have to know some basic rules. So the first rules for the opening balance entry is like any asset will have always a debit balance. Okay, and any liability will have a credit balance. So any customer has an outstanding, which means that it is an asset to you or your business. That amount will return to you on some or the other day. So it is an asset. So we'll have to put that outstanding amount for customers in the debit side. As you can see, I have already created some ledgers. I have created a bank ledger for myself and I have put like 3 lakh Indian rupees as the debit balance. I have also created already a ledger called customer Bismillah, for which there was an outstanding amount. I had put an outstanding, or you can say a debit balance, as cash in hand. And this is a retail point distributor, as in a supplier for whom I have a credit balance. That is the amount I have to pay to them. Similarly, let me show you how you can make new opening balance entries for the customers and supplier which we have just created. As I was saying, the customer will always have a debit balance. If they are having a credit balance at the end of a financial year or at any moment, it means that the sales return has happened more than the sales, which indirectly means you have to pay to the customer. That's it. Once you have pressed enter and just click go on pressing enter, the balance is saved. Again, you can press the F3 ledger key to invoke the distributor. Now, as I had said, the distributor will have a credit balance. You can also verify the same. My distributor is having a credit balance, my customer is having a debit balance. So this usually goes to the beginning of the financial year, that is when my business starts. So for international customers or any customer who is having a different financial year date, the opening date will come differently. So now my business is set up with GoFrugal accounts. I can start to make the transactions in POS and start to address. One more small thing that I would like to tell you, that opening balance entry can be made at any date, but it will go as on 1/4/2017 or 1/4 of that financial period. Now let me make a sales bill entry and show you how the posting is done in accounts and how you can treat them later. System date because I have already made some entries, so I just wanted to show you as a fresh. So it is just I am making a credit sales entry. As I had said earlier, the UI might change based on the product, but the accounting treatment is always the same. All those entries which are made in POS or track for any particular date, it can be viewed in the Daybook. You can simply search here Daybook, or it is also available under reports, daily reports, Daybook. So as you can see, one sales entry has been done. The customer, since it is a credit sale, the customer is debited and the tax ledgers and the sales accounts are credited. Since it is an Indian installation, it will show SGST and CGST and the GST sales ledger. If it is a normal outside India customer, they will have their 6% or 12% VAT and sales 12% ledger. That is the only difference between the Indian and the outside non-Indian customers. As I have shown you that how the entry has been posted, you can view that in Daybook. Also, this means that for that customer, there is some outstanding which has generated. That outstanding can be viewed in outstanding reports available in track, or you can also see the same outstanding amount in Billwise receipt as well. You can see that first opening balance entry which we had made has come as an outstanding of 1,500. Now we have made a sales bill which for 1,700 which we saved as credit sales, so which has come as outstanding, and the cumulative outstanding will be shown over here and over here. Similarly, let me make a purchase entry in our POS and show you its effect. See, the purchase entry has come in the Daybook, as well as the outstanding would have been generated, which you can view in Billwise payment as well. The overall outstanding of that supplier is shown here. Now I want to make some cash purchase and cash sales entry and show you how and where you can see its effect. I'm making a small bill. I have to change the type over here. Now, since it is a cash purchase or a cash transaction, the parties will not be involved. So you cannot see that transaction in the party's ledger or in the outstanding or in the Billwise receipt or Billwise payment screen. Please understand that only the outstanding details or outstanding bills will show in the Billwise payment and Billwise receipt screen. If you can see in the Daybook, only the cash and the sales and cash and purchase accounts are involved in the cash transactions. There is no party involved. However, the sales register and the purchase register reports available in Trac will show you all the details of even a cash sales and a credit sales. Now let me show you how to adjust those bills. So once a distributor, supplier, the masters are created, the opening is made, the bills are made, in a period 1 month or 15 days time, it's time when they return or when we have to return some money to our suppliers. So at that moment we'll have to make some adjusting entries, which you can make either in payment if you have to give a payment to your supplier, or receipt, or a Billwise receipt and Billwise payment screen. So let me first show you how to receive the amount from customers. I will be using the Billwise receipt screen first. Here today we will majorly focus on the receipt part. The post dated check receipt we will cover in next webinar when I will be taking session on the banking module. So I'll select the customer who is giving money now. Here there is something called as mode in our application, wherein there are two options, auto mode and manual mode. By default it is selected as manual mode because that was the last transaction I had done. So now manual means what? Manual means you have to select by yourself what are those bills against which the customer is giving you the money and what is the amount the customer is giving you. So for example, suppose out of the 3,200 rupees outstanding, the customer is willing to give me like 1,100 rupees. So there are two outstanding now. There is already an opening balance entry, presumably we can say that from the last financial year. Okay, there is 1,500 rupees already pending for last financial years, and in this financial year I have made a bill for 1,700. Now sometimes, very rare cases, the customer might say you leave the old work, we'll first start to close the current year's finance. So in that case he might be wishing to give you the 1,100 rupees against this bill number. So you have to select Y over here. You have to press Y. Automatically the balance amount will be transferred to the amount column. So if the customer is paying any less, you will have to type that 1100 over here. Similarly, you can press Y in anywhere. Say for example, the customer is not specific, so obviously we will start to adjust the bills from the top. That is, first entry will be the one which is the longest outstanding. The mode is how the customer is giving you the money, whether he is giving as a check, cash in hand, main cash, petty cash, or he is transferring to your bank. So let me suppose that he is giving me in cash. Now when the cursor is in the narration part, if I press enter once again, this voucher will get saved. Just before saving, I would like to show you the auto mode as well. Hence, I am clearing the screen now. Now, if you had noticed, when the mode was manual, the cursor didn't stop on the amount column. Now, when it is auto mode, the cursor will stop in the amount column and the system is prompting you to enter the amount which has to be automatically adjusted. Now, here I am putting an amount for say 1600. And once I press enter, you can see that the system will automatically adjust the amount starting from the top. So since it was 1600, it has adjusted in both the bills. 1500 in the first and only 100 rupees from the 1700. Again, I have to choose the mode and just press enter to save. Now if I just open and check, only one bill which is outstanding is present and the opening balance entry has been removed. Sorry for that. The same functionality is for Billwise payment as well. Here, let me use the manual mode. You can toggle between the auto and manual mode by pressing the up arrow key and the down arrow key. This is in what mode I would like to transfer my amount from. Now I am choosing as a bank mode, whether I am transferring via check, NEFT, RTGS or any other means in bank itself. So I am choosing as a NEFT. And it has got saved. Now if we see the outstanding of that distributor, again that opening balance entry is no more and only one bill which is partly adjusted is pending. You can also check the same details in the Daybook. We have done sales, purchase, cash sales, cash purchase, a receipt entry and a payment entry. So this basically covers the opening balance screen, the bill wise receipt and the bill wise payment. So any counter person or any person who is allotted for maintaining accounts and directly deals with the customers or the suppliers, probably these are the only few two menus which the account person might use. Apart from this, there are even the accountants can use the GoFrugal Trac 5. Now, apart from this, let me show you the payment and the receipt. Now, in both payment and receipt, we have something called as a single entry mode and a double entry mode. Double entry mode is nothing but the system will prompt you to select both the debit ledgers and the credit ledgers. Now, till the time we are using the Billwise payment, Billwise receipt, and we are clear about the opening balance, which ledger has to be debited and which ledger has to be credited, it is quite simple. The confusion comes when some new person has to make a payment or receipt entry, and they just misplace the debit with the credit and the credit with the debit and make a wrong entry. Because in these two screens there will be no validation. You can choose any ledger and post any amount either in the debit or the credit side. So the one person who is making the entry has to be knowledgeable enough to make sure what has to be given as a payment and what has to be made as a receipt entry. So I would like to share just a few small things which will help you remember and understand what has to be debited and what has to be credited. Now, as I was saying, apart from the Billwise screen, the Billwise screens will list you the suppliers and the customers. Apart from that, in normal business or in normal course of business, there will be some payments, some cash that will come in, some in cash or receipts which will go out. Okay, for those type of entries, you can use our transaction payment and transaction receipt. So generally, payment is like you will do for all expenses. So to see the debit and the credit, it will always be like you have to debit the receiver and credit the giver. So if you are going to be receiving some money from the customer, so your cash or bank balance will be debited and that customer account will be credited. Whatever is going to come in for you has to be debited. Again, the same thing, like if you are going to receive some cash or from some customer or through other some mediums, like you can have a place which you had leased to someone and you are getting rent on that, so all those will be debited. Finally, all the expenses has to be debited and all sorts of income has to be credited. So to make a debit expense entry, you will have to use a payment screen. I have already created a master for an expense. I have created as a stationery expense. The group I have chosen as indirect expenses. It depends upon your individual choice whether it has to be a direct or indirect expense. Like for say this week I have to paid some 500 rupees for the stationery expenses. The payment voucher is saved. Again, as I was saying, that you have received some rent or received some interest on some investment which you have done, you can make a receipt entry. Now the payment mode which I had used was double entry, which was asking me to select both the debit and the credit ledger. If you can see the receipt screen is by default in single entry mode, which means that the debit ledger is asked at the top itself. Only the credit ledger is to be selected over here. It is asking from which bank I have received the payment. You can press F6 to save. So I hope you have known the difference between Billwise payment, Billwise receipt and normal payment receipt. Let me reiterate, the Billwise screens will show you the list of suppliers and the customers, whereas the normal payment and receipt screen will show you list of all the ledgers available. Now let me show you how to make a journal entry. Now, as I was saying that debit, it's all about just the debit and credit. You can make the same journal entry via the payment or a receipt. Some other transactions, you can simply do it by using the journal as well. I'll have to choose a debit. Say for example, I have a person to whom I have given some loan, and he is neither my supplier, neither my customer, is just a friend of mine. So I'll be creating one ledger master for them as well. So it's not just about the business that you are getting from the POS, whatever the masters which are getting from the POS, you can also create own masters in ledger and do the other apart from the routine transaction as well in GoFrugal Trac. So I have already created a ledger. So this is a person I have assumed, like I have given some money to them and they will be returning it back. So this will come under the group of sundry debtors. So if there are any business firms or business individual persons to whom I have to give some money, then that will come as a sundry creditor. So for example purpose, let me create a new, I will create a business firm to whom I have to give some loan back. Apart from that, we don't have any other purchase or sales transaction with them. if you want to see this more accurate entry, then definitely currently my investor is having zero credit balance, that is there is no which means there is no outstanding. However, once I had created that investor ledger, I have to make an opening balance entry to make sure in the credit side, to make sure that I have an outstanding balance already, and then I am paying that to the customer, or sorry, my investor. Let me show you by making that entry as well. See, the system even in the journal mode will ask you to adjust the amount. So I'm adjusting as against this 1 lakh rupees, and I am paying from my bank. Even for such third parties, since they are in either sundry debtors or sundry creditors, you can check their outstanding in the balance status as well. You can see I still have a 50,000 rupees outstanding. The original outstanding was 1,000, for which against which I have paid 50,000 already. Now we'll see what is a contra. Contra entry is nothing but you can manage the same via journal entry as well. Contra comes into place when there are bank to bank transfer or bank and cash ledgers involved. So say for example it is a cash deposit, which means you are depositing some cash to the bank, so only those two ledgers are involved. Again, cash withdrawal, bank and cash ledgers are involved. Bank to bank transfer or cash to cash transfer. These 4 types, if there is any entry, then as per accounting it is made as an contra entry, that is twice entries are made. So I'll be like having a cash withdrawal. So it is asking me from which bank. Since I have just created one bank, it is automatically selected, and it is asking me whether I want to withdraw and put that money in my cash in hand, main cash or petty cash. I have to enter the amount. Narration if any. Now, as I had said already, all these entries can be tracked in the Daybook. Now, in my last webinar as well, I had told you like the track is not only just integrated with our POS. If you have some sister concerns or other businesses, you can create a separate company in the track as well, which can be created by going to masters and company master. So when you have created a company, you can do the purchase, sales, purchase returns and sales return in the track as well. You can use the purchase and sales menu to do the accounts related track purchase and sales. Again, if you are having a purchase return or sales return, the menu to be used is debit note and credit note. So debit note will be raised if there is any sales return. So if I raise a debit note to a supplier, okay, then my outstanding amount will reduce. I've already made one debit note entry. This I have done for my customer. See, the debit note and the credit note entry can be used to make for either the supplier or the customer. It is when you have to use what entry, that depends. If the outstanding or the amount to be received has to be minimized, then you need to raise a debit note. For example, if I raise a debit note to a customer, the outstanding of that customer will automatically reduce. If I make a credit note entry, then the outstanding to the supplier will also reduce. In the debit note entry or the credit note entry, on the top it will ask you from which account the amount has to be given, like whether it is a cash or bank, and at the below part it will ask for the ledger. Now, apart from these transactions, there is something called approval process as well, which is related to purchase from POS, which I will be explaining in the next webinar. I had shown you in the previous webinar as well some template voucher or transaction templates. Like you have started the business, your business is going, there is payment, receipt, everything is being done. Apart from that, there are entries other than POS related customer and supplier entries like expense entries or the investor payment. So at the month end, there will be some, or the month begin, there will be some entries which are by default, like the electricity bill will be paid, your office premises rent will be given. So that some predefined tasks which are repetitive throughout the year, every month on some particular date, you can create a template. I have already created a template for per month. I have to give some advertisement charge, rent, electricity charges, and it all will be deducted from my bank account. So I will create a template like this. I'll give the formula name as A1, A2, A3, and finally the entire amount will be deducted from my bank, and hence it is A1 plus A2 plus A3. I can invoke this template in transaction template voucher. Since I have created just one as monthly expense, all the templates have been by default loaded. For advertisement, I am spending like 500. For rent, it is so simple and saved. So I hope this has given some small insight in the transactions, and any new staff will be able to start with your processing of payment and receipt from the customer end. For much detailed training, you can go for our training coupons, additional training coupons. Now there are some questions raised from the customer which I'd like to answer. Just before that, I am launching an online poll. Kindly do respond to the poll. It's a 2-minute time. This webinar, we have gone in some short details about the transaction. Next webinar, we will be going into details of banking, like how check deposit, check bounce represent, VRS has to be seen. Last 30 seconds. Still some attendees have to give the poll. Thank you for the response. So I can see like many of the customers have asked for changing the opening balance date. So opening balance date for individual suppliers or individual customers can't be changed. It has to be changed overall itself. So that can be done by editing the company master by changing this transaction begin date. This means that the opening balance entry, whatever date is mentioned over here, that will be entered as the opening balance date. But I simply prefer that you leave it as 1/4/2017 or your financial year date, because whenever we are starting a business and your business will already have been established, it's just that in most of the cases you will be switching to GoFrugal solutions. So just having the outstanding value, I presume, is enough, but it is up to the customer's choice. So 2 to 3 customers have asked for how to change some opening balance entry. Suppose on the first date, some of the amount that you have entered is wrong. So you want to change the amount, and if it is still not adjusted, then I'll show you how to change them. So I've just created a customer for whom I can enter the opening balance. So now you can see that as I had shown you previously as well, there are two entries. One is an opening balance entry and one is a sale made. And you notice that the opening balance or the outstanding which you had entered earlier is wrong, and you want to just modify that. If you want to make it simply blank, you can just press on enter and it's done. See that ledger name is not available. If you wanted to just edit the amount as well, you can simply do it. So I'll just put a re-entry over here. It is not mandatory to close the screen and open again. That's it. It is changed. There are some detailed queries which require some time of explanation. I request such customer queries to be raised in my GoFrugal app so that we can address them product wise. Okay, I feel with this we can wind up today's session. Please get back for the next session on banking module. I am again seeing some questions which are left unanswered, and I request them to please raise a complaint using my GoFrugal app. We will not be able to address all the questions in 1 hour time, but we can definitely address each and every query raised by every customer via my GoFrugal complaints. So kindly do raise the questions via my GoFrugal app, and I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.